What's going on, people? Today I'm reviewing Pacific Rim Uprising in 4K, 3D, and Blu-ray, and I got that coming up for you next. So I have promised more 3D reviews, and that is why I took the opportunity to purchase Pacific Rim Uprising on a special Best Buy exclusive 3D, 4K, and Blu-ray box set, and I will be reviewing that for you guys today. Pacific Rim Uprising, the movie itself, is a pretty mixed bag. Ultimately, it does feel unnecessary, but at the same point in time, it's a fun movie to watch. John Boyega definitely excels at imitating Idris Elba, and he is definitely the strong part of this movie, and there are a couple of other weak performances, but even though I don't really like the performances, and I don't really like where this movie goes, especially with its villain, and especially how they treat certain characters that come in from the first Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim Uprising is a perfectly serviceable popcorn film that you will forget about in a couple of hours after you watch it, and for that I'll have to give it a 6 out of 10. It's perfectly serviceable. And now to get into the video quality, starting with the Blu-ray, this Blu-ray looks pretty damn good, people. You get a whole lot of vibrance and you get a whole lot of detail, especially on the mechs, but even with the John Boyega, especially in the close-ups, this movie looks pretty damn pristine on Blu-ray, but with some shaky CGI elements, and I will give it a 9 out of 10. And now for the 4K transfer, this was actually given a 2K digital intermediate, but bumped up with some great looking Dolby Vision here, and let me tell you, this is a really good display for Dolby Vision, because the difference between just straight up HDR and Dolby Vision here is more substantial than most, because I will say that there are a lot more vivid colors and a lot more just striking colors in the Dolby version, and I will say that those colors pop out a lot more and give it a little bit more depth. And the matter of fact, I will say that this whole presentation in 4K has a lot more depth than the Blu-ray, and that is something that is pretty important when you are dealing with huge mechs like this movie has. HDR helps out the CGI a little bit. The CGI in this movie is still a little shaky, and that is because this is a very CGI heavy movie with a budget that I don't know if it can handle as much CGI as it attempts. But still, this is a damn good looking 4K presentation that isn't reference quality, but it is just that one step below it. I'll give it a 9 out of 10. And now to get into the 3D version of Pacific Rim Uprising. This was actually a good one for me to pick up and do for you guys, just because it's actually a really good one. There is not a lot of ghosting here, and the depth is pretty expansive, and even though there weren't that many scenes that actually seemed like it was going to pop out of the screen, I wouldn't say that this is as good as Pacific Rim was, like the first one, but this is still a very solid and very consistently deep 3D presentation that I will give an 8 out of 10. Now, with the audio, they have done something that is really cool, and whatever version that you want to view this in, you get to listen to it in the great Dolby Atmos soundtrack here, and it is phenomenal. I will say that just the scale of this Dolby Atmos track and the field of sound, it feels so massive and so immersive. This is what you want from a release that has mechs versus Godzilla. The height speakers get really great use. Surrounds are constantly active. The bass is constantly bumping, and I will say that it is very dynamic, and it definitely, this whole entire audio track has a sense of scale that I truly do love. I will give this a 10 out of 10. This is a reference quality Dolby Atmos track, people. As far as the digital copy goes, this is a Movies Anywhere digital copy, which means that you can pretty much view this on any platform that you want to, and especially if you have a Vudu account, you can watch this in its great 4K presentation with Dolby Vision. And getting into the special features here, you have an audio commentary with the director, and he flies solo on this one, and he definitely has a whole lot to say, and it is informative, but unfortunately it is also pretty uninteresting. And then you have the typical featurettes that are only about 3 minutes long, and they go into the new cadets, and they go into making the mechs, and they go into going into Tokyo and how they wanted to portray that, and yada yada yada. These special features are very typical, and they are just really blasé. They don't really hold any weight to them. But I will say that they are all on the 4K disc, and with that in mind, I'll give it a 4 out of 10. This is below average. And as for my last looks and my final thoughts of Pacific Rim Uprising, look, this cannot hold a candle to Pacific Rim. It definitely is trying to cater to a market that is younger than the first film, but it is still a reasonably fun movie that has some fun elements. And even though I felt like it dragged and it had some characters that I felt were kind of extra and they were kind of badly acted, this is a perfectly serviceable, easily digestible, forgettable film. So when you add up all my scores for the Blu-ray and the 4K Blu-ray, you get a score of a 29. And for the 3D, you get a score of a 28. Look, if you do not mind this movie, then you will like this Blu-ray, or 4K Blu-ray, or 3D Blu-ray. It's really good quality if you like the movie. So coming up next for you guys through this whole entire month, I'm going to be reviewing the Mission Impossible series leading up to Mission Impossible Fallout that's coming out of it's coming out the last week of this month. So look forward to that. And as always, guys, thank you for watching my videos. You guys are awesome. And I will see all of you next time.